It was another important scrimmage at Georgia on Saturday. Dean Legge from Dawg Post. I've got all the details for you. Stick around there in the video. Got some stuff for you that you're not going to get anywhere else. Let's start off with just kind of what happened on Saturday. It was a good day for the offense. They had a better scrimmage than they did a week ago. That's what multiple insiders told Dawg Post about Georgia's scrimmage. And it wasn't, there's a lot of context here because there's a lot of players who are not playing who are not scrimmaging. They sort of are practicing or at the beginning, and then they're not taking part of the practice. Zachariah Branch didn't go on Saturday during the scrimmage. But there were a lot of guys that did make good plays. I do want to focus on a couple of things real quick. Kirby Smart is this team. One of his favorite things that he says to us is that the team is a work in progress. They're clearly a work in progress this spring. There's a lot of negative body language that he is consistently critiquing. He's talking to his coaches saying, let me make sure I get the quote right. He's wanting to find defensive players who can hit. He says, find me coaches, find me someone who can hit, find me someone who can tackle. He was all over the coaching staff on Saturday, and there were a lot of other players that he was all over as well. Now, listen, if you've been around practices or, you hear things the way that some of us do on the field, this is not new. This is coaching, right? But here's one thing that an insider said to me. He says, it seems like Kirby wants to see how the team performs under stress. They could be inconsistent to start the season. So why? Why would they be inconsistent? I talk about that and more in my exclusive practice scrimmage report that you can find on Dawg Post. The link to that is down below. I'm actually going to make it free for y'all until about 2 o'clock on Sunday. So you've got a very limited amount of time to read this report. I'm not going to put it out on Twitter. I'm not putting it out on Facebook. I'm not doing any of that stuff. It's not going on our newsletter that's read by more than 20,000 people. You need to click the link down below and read it there. Now, when it's no longer free, it's no longer free, and we've got a great deal for you that you can buy Dawg Post for a month for $1. So take advantage of that right now while you can. The link is right down below. I think, and there's so many details because I'll forget a lot of the stuff that I've already written. I think there's a lot of, this is a young team, and this is an inexperienced team versus what Georgia's been used to kind of in the past. But the past is gone. Like, that style of college football probably isn't going to be around anymore. Every single year, these coaches in college football are going to have to do what John Calipari sort of became known for at Kentucky in the mid-2010s, which is take a team, rebuild the team completely every single year. That's where Georgia is at. It looks to me and a lot of people like Gunnar Stockton, if he's not going to be the starting quarterback in the fall, that'd be pretty surprising. I mean, at this stage, I'd kind of be shocked. There's a grasp of things that he has right now, specifically Kirby talks about this, but when you talk about people that are watching practice or they're watching the scrimmage, they talk about his command, not just of the offense, but of sort of everything. So yesterday, Georgia was running sprints at the end of practice. If you practice in high school or in college, there's often conditioning after practices. And, some guys, weren't hitting their numbers. And I talk about that even more down below in the story. But Gunnar Stockton was consistently leading or at the front of the pack during those runs. And a lot of guys were not hitting their numbers. And someone said to me yesterday, this might have been the quote of the day to me that we got at Dawg Post. It was, you get the impression that Gunnar is in charge. So there's that. I think, I don't, so again on the Gunnar Stockton thing, I don't know if he's not as talented as Stetson Bennett was. He's more talented to me than Jake Fromm. He does not have the skill in terms of throwing it as Carson Beck. But what you need in any team is the right person at the right time that can make plays that they can make. Because if you're asking for instance, we now know that Duke is not going to win the national championship in basketball. We now know that Auburn is not going to win the national championship in basketball. Those two teams had the best or second best player, in quotations, all season. They're not going to win the national championship. What's the point of playing all these games? It's to win the national championship. Gunner's not going to be the most talented quarterback. That doesn't mean he's without talent. That is a misnomer and a misunderstanding of what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, sometimes you've got, something that's a little different than what you've had in the past. That doesn't mean what you're doing right now won't work. Doesn't mean that at all. I'm going to be at Red Zone in Athens Friday afternoon, which means afternoon. I'll tell you the exact time, for our G-Day Spectacular. I'll be there live. Drop by Red Zone. They're such good partners with us. I'll be there in the afternoon, and they've just got all sorts of stuff that you just can't get at these other corporate places. Okay, this is a locally owned friend of Dawg Post organization and business. We're friends with them. They're friends with us. We've been doing this with Scott and Mindy for a long, long time. And I'm not going to drop names of other companies, but I don't know their owners. I don't know their CEOs because they're like in Maryland somewhere or Wyoming. So these are people that live in the Athens area. They're Athens people. So go support some of our closest friends in this ball game for sure. And that's Red Zone on Clayton Street, and it will probably be at 2:30 or so. And I'll be there probably around 2:30 to 4:30. There will be a rush of people on Friday for G-Day. Make sure you're getting in to Red Zone. If you can't be there Friday, if you're coming in from, Northwest Georgia, South Georgia, come on Saturday morning. They will be there early, and make sure you're there. But they're tremendous partners and allies for us. Scott and Minnie have been great for a long time. So I'll be there, and we'll talk more about G-Day, and we'll talk more about the plays that Noah Thomas made, the transfer from Texas A&M, the optimism about Sokovie White. Here's a little bit more about Gunner Stockton. I thought this is from someone who watched the scrimmage live. I thought Gunner looked good today. He made good decisions with the ball. I saw a couple of interceptions, and they weren't from him. Gunner was leading everyone in the team. I've got a misspelled word there. Gunner was leading everyone on the team when they were doing sprints at the end of the day. So you got that. I think the other global thing that's coming into focus right now is that this Georgia team's players, the skill players, outside players on the outside, there's more of them. There's depth with them. This should be a very good receiving group, and they will challenge other teams on that front. That's going to be something that, if they can pair the run with that, this could be a very explosive offense. The concern on the Georgia end of things is, from people in Athens, whether they're inside the program or whether they're just like very involved and they're not literally paid by Georgia. The worry, the I think correct concern about this team specifically is, can they run the ball effectively this fall? Because they just didn't last year at all. Well, we don't know. To me, that's the biggest question mark coming into this season. And, it's great if you have receivers. It is. Georgia had some pretty good receivers last year. They weren't what I thought they would be because of the way they had to play. And it just turned out that they couldn't run the ball at all. But they had some pretty good receivers, and then you lose two of them by midseason. It just kind of fell apart offensively because you had no bread and butter with the run game. You couldn't do anything else. It was just not ideal. And if Georgia gets steadiness from Frazier, if they get playmaking from Phillips, Bowens, if what people are saying, about some of the younger running backs is accurate, they'll have what they need to run the ball from the backs. I mean, if Bo Walker is closer to Herschel Walker than, no. If he's closer to the DeAndre Walker than some of the running backs they've had lately, that's the wrong. I'm just playing on the last name because he's not that style of back. But if these guys, Bo Walker continues to be someone that's discussed. I don't know if. Here's what one person said about Bo Walker. I don't know if he's special, but he's the kind of player that can get you tough yards. He's not going to go down on first contact. You need Zamir White. You also would love to have DeAndre Swift. I said DeAndre Walker. He better not be like DeAndre Walker as it relates to running the ball, although DeAndre maybe could argue that he was a good runner in high school at that school in South Fulton. I doubt it. But, Georgia's not had the breakaway. They've not had a breakaway running back since Kenny McIntosh. That's maybe what Dwight Phillips can be. But Kenny was used a lot more than Dwight was this past season. We got a long way to go. But the running backs, if they can just, Georgia needs to be steady in the run game. Because the running backs are, I hate to say it, they're more important than the wide receivers. There are times when, when it started too and you're trying to close a game out, you don't want to be throwing the ball. You're not going to be throwing the ball. Well, the coach is conservative as Kirby Smart. So what I would tell you is this. Make sure you're going to Dawg Post. We've got a bunch of stuff leading up to G-Day and a bunch of reaction afterwards. Make sure you're going there. It's that time of the year, and we're not going to stop just because G-Day is going to end things. Make sure you're seeing me over on Clayton Street at Red Zone on Friday afternoon. And one last thing. The link is down below for the story. It will not be live all day. But if you're watching this right now, you've got a couple of hours to go read that free story. Then it will become premium, and you'll need to pay the $1 for a month, which you should be doing anyway, to get a good look at that. So it was a really good scrimmage at Georgia. There's a lot to deal with still. You didn't have Drew Bobo, you didn't have Zachariah Branch, you didn't have Monroe Freeland. You've got a lot of guys that are out for the spring that weren't playing. You have both Robinson running backs; they weren't going, as we know. There's so much. There's a lot of people missing, and one thing that someone said to me was they were rotating so much on the offensive line I couldn't tell who the ones were. Yeah, that's what happens. But it sounded to me like the offense had a better day, if you want to put it like that. And the secondary has got some work to do. So I go through that in detail. The link is down below. Make sure you're watching us, lock us in. But read that story, sign up for our newsletter, and I'll see you at Red Zone on Friday. Thanks for watching.